Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing very well and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and a very big thank you to everyone who comments on the video every single day, helping out the algorithm. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I know there's a lot going on. I know that we're in very weird economic times. I know that the cryptocurrency space feels absolutely and utterly completely insane right now. A lot of really big news floating around about the space and prices and where things are going. If you've missed or not seen any of the last, realistically, 10 to 15 videos, analysts across the board are quite hyped, quite optimistic, quite every, good word you can throw in there about the cryptocurrency market in the quick short term and the actual long term. I was just with a friend who's also he's really he's in the crypto market. A couple of years ago, I had to hey, look at the market, see where things are going. And now he's he loves it. But even he was discussing, if I can, have one of those chats with all of you. We were talking about the actual movements of the market now and where we kind of are expecting things to go. He was saying long term, he gets it. You can't have a situation where the United States government is jumping into crypto and without having to do the entire list over and over again and basically not expect prices to completely go a lot higher in the future. But there's more of this hyper uncertainty that we have right now across all markets. Markets in Asia are constantly fluctuating because of the tariffs, the reciprocal tariffs, the retaliatory tariffs, the initial ones, the 95% ones, and it's throwing all the markets into literal turmoil because no one knows what's coming next. On top of that, if you remember in January, so Arthur Hayes is once again back in the news, as I said a couple of videos ago. This guy kind of disappeared for 2 years. I don't remember if something happened or if he simply faded in, away from the light. He didn't want to, I don't know what happened, but he's back with a vengeance in full force, talking about the crypto space and prices and where he thinks things are going to go. Back in January, we had news of what might happen in April, and here we are, and therefore this is why this is actual major news. There is a date circled in red on Arthur Hayes' calendar, and it is not some crypto conference or a Fed meeting or SEC this or Ripple that or this is going to... Nope. It's the 15th of April. If you are not in the States, if you are not from the States, the 15th of April probably means absolutely jack diddly squat to you. If you live in America, you know exactly what the 15th of April is. It's U.S. Tax Day. Yeah. So in January, it seemed like a far-off, distant dream that by April, it would take a long time for us to get there. Historically, what we tend to see happen usually, no one knows if this time is different or what's going to happen. Usually as we approach tax day, people tend to sell off their assets. You might ask why or what the diddly or something like that. It's because people have to pay their taxes. So people figure out how much they have to pay. Some of them realize they don't have that amount in their bank accounts. And guess what? Usually, crypto and the stock market as well sees a bit of a sell-off. It is I don't want to use the word normal, but it's something that happens every single time. The 15th of April is the deadline when the market might finally stop holding its breath. Let me explain. Every cycle, remember how we were going over before, usually in January, what we tended to see is that the cryptocurrency market the year after the halving will go up. We're not talking about exceptionally up, but a good 8, 10, 15, and I say this lightly, 35% increases across some altcoins. And the 35 there is relevant because usually some coins over like the bull run will see like a 14,000% increase, what have you. Usually what happens is we move up, but as we approach April, prices do organically usually go down because of tax season. This has been something that we've gone over maybe like twice, where a lot of analysts have said, remember the time frame of April, May, and June? Usually there's like a washout in April because people like get rid of their stuff, but there's a lot of uncertainty exactly how much markets will actually go down. So on top of the tariff news, the tariff information, we're also talking about tax season. And then we're talking about, as of now, I don't know if you saw one of the other videos. Was it Vanguard? I don't know. Some big name, what have you, basically announced that they are expecting or anticipating that the Fed is, so they say, going to lower interest rates 3 times this year. Not by a full point, but 0.25, so a quarter of a point spread out over the course of a year. We've had news since the beginning of time, but also the beginning of this year, that when the Fed does lower interest rates is going to cause a gigantic boost in all markets. One of the main things surrounding uncertainty, because, and I'll tell you in as honest a way as I possibly can. Remember the entire thing with FTX? Remember what happened at the beginning of 2020 and any other crazy event that's happened? There's only so much fear that a market or a human mind can take before it finally gets over it. It's not that the fear is irrational so much as like in the moment we think it's like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing to ever happen to markets. If you keep getting news about the exact same thing over and over again, eventually you go, all right, well, it's not that scary. Like, the sky literally hasn't fallen. So as we move further along, if we continue to see more tariffs, they will only have a minimal effect in the future because you can't continuously be afraid of the word over and over. Tax season breezes by, and then that essentially gives us more or less another 8.5 or 9 months of a clear path without having to worry about January rolling around again and then April coming up once again in the news. The ex-BitMEX boss thinks Bitcoin has a simple but brutal test to pass before then. And I'm seeing different numbers from people. He's saying stay above $76,000 per Bitcoin. I'm seeing a lot of people say 70,000. I've seen some charts that say 67,000. We also don't forget the charts that we had before that all said stay over 84,000. Everyone has some kind of a different number, different metrics, different charts, different lines that they're drawing onto a board. His says stay above $76,000 per coin. No fake outs, just steady holding. If it does, the nervous choppiness choking the market right now could finally ease up. If it does not, then no one can expect more than one can of the, he says, same sideways agony. It's interesting because Arthur Hayes, and I say it this way, typically tends to be correct if we can have an honest discussion with ourselves here. A lot of people don't know or realize or know or understand that just because someone's giving you a chart or showing you something doesn't mean that they're going to be correct in any form or fashion. They're usually more incorrect than they actually are in other scenarios. And I say that because if you look at, especially on crypto Twitter, there's a reason why I keep mentioning like the analysts, because it's not just one. They all have varying ideas of where the market's going to go, how high things are going to go, what the lows are going to actually be, or where we need to basically stand instead of having something actually go wrong. Arthur Hayes has actually hit the target a couple of times. He was even the one about a month and a half ago who was like, no, Bitcoin's going to fall to like 70,000 something and then promptly basically go back up. The issue is that currently he, once again, he's hitting it on the nose, and his price predictions, if everyone pays attention, then might actually end up coming true. And that's what everyone's starting to pay attention to right now. It says this is not just another random price prediction. Once the tax man gets his cut, the forced selling from over-leveraged traders and panicked holders dries up. This happens every single cycle, and the real move begins. If Bitcoin clears this hurdle, Hayes is not just betting on a modest rally. For those of you who missed it, Arthur Hayes thinks that we are on our way to, really like smoothly as well, to a $250,000 Bitcoin. Basically mimicking from the multitude of the other analysts who told us over the course of last year that was kind of the number that they were expecting for Bitcoin. If you missed those videos, the normalist, number for Bitcoin's rally was anywhere from 200,000, 250 to 300,000. The extra bullish people were talking about a $500,000 coin. We had people throwing out that Bitcoin was going to pass by the valuation of gold, and therefore we would need an $800,000 Bitcoin. And then the Samson Maos and other hierarchical Bitcoin maximalists were all talking about $1 million Bitcoin. And from a reality perspective of everything that's been going on, $250,000 still seems believable. I know that a lot of retail has left. I told you all that before. I can usually always see the signs, and it typically is a healthy thing for the market if we get a lot of the speculators out of here. The reason why Bitcoin does well usually in general is because of long-term holders, people who buy and who hold and have no real intention of selling, the people who plan on using their Bitcoin when it goes over $1 million per coin. So you're only spending 0.000001, like that kind of thing. But any kind of speculators, anyone who's over leveraged, anyone who's shorting, anyone who's longing, these people, this is why we always have this news about people who get like flushed out of the market, who are hyper over leveraged, or people who get into the market because they assume that it's going to make them quick, fast, easy money. If you are brand new to the market, I have something terrible to tell you. That is not how it works. And maybe you've been experiencing it and understanding it over the last couple of weeks within this market. There is no quick, fast, easy money. It's about buying the proper coins. It's about paying attention. It's about researching, and it's about holding. It's about going through all the choppiness. It's about waking up and seeing that prices have fallen by 15%. It's about being courageous enough to buy more when prices have dropped. And it's about waiting to basically the price ends up going back up. This is why we have 4-year cycles as far as we currently know right now. So it's very big news. You're going to start maybe seeing a little bit more of it from other YouTubers talking about it over the course of the next couple of days. However, I will state, and there's only so many times I can actually say this, my bullishness remains in this market. It's it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to kind of like shake me or shake my fear of the market. I, of course, get frustrated with it because I think we should be a lot higher. But once again, in pure honesty form, I'm looking at the April, May, and June timeline. As usually when we see prices go back up, I mentioned it before in another video, if we get to July 1st, and we are still in the same sideways area, or prices have fallen by another 10 to 15%, then it's red flag. That's the kind of worrying period, but we usually should be rallying in some sort of way over the course of the next couple of months, just because of the accumulation levels and historically what we've seen. When I was saying that I usually know the signs, I've noticed that the views on my video have dropped by around like 30% in the last 2 months. And this usually lets me know that retail is like gone, like they've kind of left the market. So that's usually a very good sign for us that the speculators are gone, the long-term holders are buying, so that when WHEN, the retail investors jump back in quickly to try and make quick, fast money as the market's going back up, they essentially usually always lead us to the $250,000 Bitcoins. Like, they're the reason why the market goes back up, because they realize that they left the market, they sold their position, prices are too high, they jump back in trying to get the same glory, not realizing that they missed a year, 7 months, 6 months of accumulation. And then that's when the frenzy begins. So yeah, all eyes on the middle of April. We'll see what happens. And yeah, let's move on. Also in and I was shocked as to why this was extremely popular news, but sure, why not? A new bill introduced in South Carolina is proposing the creation of a state-run Bitcoin reserve with a cap or a maximum amount that the state would be able to buy of 1 million Bitcoin. I get that the word 1 million and South Carolina is there. Therefore, this is why it made incredibly popular news. But I think at the same time, we also have to constantly be honest with ourselves. If you missed it, MicroStrategy now has over 500,000 Bitcoin. It took them 3 years to get that and 33 billion US dollars. The odds of at any point in the future of South Carolina putting in $66 billion into Bitcoin in one go are slim to none to none. The other part is that if anyone threw $66 billion into Bitcoin, the eating up of the buy orders would look ridiculous, and they would make it higher in price for them as they're trying to accumulate that 1 million Bitcoin. I'm not sure who actually put a cap of 1 million Bitcoin in the bill, but it's like at least they tried in some sort of way. Filed at the end of March, South Carolina's Strategic Digital Assets Reserve Act seeks to give the state treasurer the authority to hold Bitcoin and other digital assets as a hedge against inflation. According to the bill, inflation has reduced the purchasing power of retirement funds and state-managed funds. That's the point of inflation. This is why we have Bitcoin. Unless we get some other kind of a system, we're going to continue living in this world where inflation happens forever. Everyone claps and loves the system until they realize what it actually is. That's all. This is the constant thing over and over. And this is why it's such a disappointment that people leave the market or sell their Bitcoin or don't really understand what's going on. When I was just telling you, I was chatting with my friend. And I think he finally got there. He's not a Bitcoin maximalist, but he's definitely he understands life. And he was like, I don't get how people don't see what's going on. He was like, I don't understand how you can hear that the US is going to be buying it. We've heard of at least 40 different banks who are all actively buying. And it's not a speculation thing, like us speculating. No, we know that they're actively buying. We had news recently, there's 12 countries who are using Bitcoin for imports and exports, and they're mining it, and it's just kind of it doesn't make any sense how anyone could not be hyper-focused on this space right now. But also, if we can be completely honest with ourselves, this was 5 or 6 days ago. There was something online, and I kept on seeing it on Twitter, and everyone was it was really weird. Everyone was posting like, I'm deleting Binance. I hate Binance. You guys are awful and terrible. I hope everyone deletes you. And I was like, oh gosh, what happened now? So usually when you hover over something on Twitter, the algorithm is a stupid algorithm. The algorithm thinks that that's what you want more of. So reading through the actual things that people are writing, they were only showing me Binance related deletion kinds of things. You know that people were getting upset because they, as adults, were buying these meme coins. And the meme coins went down to zero, or there was something that happened on Binance where there was an error. I don't remember what it was. And people lost money. And I can only sit there thinking this is why people, even in crypto, don't buy Bitcoin. People have this fascination with wanting to go and pull a lever and make $1 million. It has nothing to do with hey, maybe I should put my head down and actually do research and buy the thing that, in the long run has a guarantee. And I say guarantee lightly because nothing in life is guaranteed, but you understand, to make me big money. It's always this kind of quick, fast thing. So people were blaming Binance for them having put their own money that they made from working into a meme coin that collapsed. Why are you still putting money into meme coins? Like how many times do you need to lose money in this market over and over before you're like, okay, let me focus on the stuff that's actually being adopted? How many countries have we heard? We just had the news. What was it? This was maybe a month or two ago. I think Abu Dhabi has like $500 million that we know of in Bitcoin. And it's like, how much more news do you need before you stop buying these coins that have no actual purpose? That aren't if we heard that, Flopadop Zebadop coin was being purchased by Abu Dhabi in the United States, I would go, okay, guys, you know what to pay attention to. Even the coins that they listed, the 5 coins for the actual digital asset reserve, the only people paying attention are rich people. I have to keep saying it, and I know it sounds very blasé, and I know it sounds very whatever, but it's so weird. I'm not the only one feeling this way, right? You hear the coins that the United States is going to buy. You hear that countries are mining Bitcoin. You hear all this legislation, all this stuff being passed through, all of these bills, not even just within the US, like everywhere. Even the individual states talking, we're going to try and buy, cap of 1 million Bitcoin. And you go on to Binance, you go into Coinbase, you go into all these different websites, you try and buy meme coins and they collapse and you go, the market's rigged. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's such a bizarre thing. Kudos to everyone actually paying attention and like really like preparing for the future and like properly investing. It's just, this is why and I'll try and find a nice way to say it. I told you all before, I think a lot of people just don't like having money. There was let me tell you this part. There was a guy, he was on some kind of like a podcast thing. He was talking about like how billionaires constantly, for those of you who don't know, this is how the game works. Billionaires will constantly tell poor people that you can become billionaires. The idea is that like you kind of live this dream in your mind where you think that you can become a billionaire as well. It's how billionaires stay in power. It's this kind of illusion that they make you think that you can be just like them or you'll benefit from their policies or whatever the case might be in any sort of way. The actual truth of the matter is you are probably never going to become a billionaire. If you're already a billionaire or you're waiting for a 10x in the crypto market to become a billionaire, congratulations, you won capitalism. Amazing. The average person, however, will not get to that status. The issue is that over the course of your life, it is incredibly possible. And I'm not talking about people who have certain issues or can't do things with their body or might not be able to think properly. Everyone else, there's a fairly strong chance that if you go over the course of your life and by the time you get to your 30s and 40s, you'll probably have a good 6 figures saved up or invested. If you do the right investments, that'll turn into $1 million. That million can then become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million. Once again, like we're talking about over the course of a 20-year period of you properly investing, keeping your head down, not buying anything frivolous, like really doing what you need to do. With the system that we have and the privileges that me, you, us have been given, internet access, communications with people, being able to have free resources to learn about markets and how markets work and all these other things and where to put our money, the chances are fairly high for all of you to have $500,000 to several $1 million. But that's the kind of, how do I say it? That usually, because of the words that billionaires give you, usually doesn't seem like enough to a lot of people. And therefore, the idea of like waiting 10, 15, 20 years to become a multimillionaire isn't as glamorous as getting it all in one shot. And this is why we continuously have people fumbling into meme coins all the time or into altcoins that aren't going anywhere. It's this really weird idea of like, well, I want to be able to prove to other people that my nonsense trade made me tons of money, as opposed to being like, hey, whatever. It's just the weirdest thing in the entire world. So if you've braved it out the last couple of months or years in this market, if you've been here for a while, shout out to that person again who wrote me on Patreon that like over the last couple of years, they became a millionaire from the cryptocurrency market. That's how it's done. It's an illusion to think that you're going to make all this money in a day and a half. That's not how it works. It's literally not how it works. To protect its finances, South Carolina wants to diversify them. Bitcoin is viewed as a possible hedge against economic volatility. Listen, I don't know about that. The proposed digital assets reserve would enable the state to own and manage Bitcoin, while also allowing South Carolinians, to voluntarily donate digital assets. Are you out of your mind? You want people to donate assets to the state that has all the money? What planet? Sometimes I go over stuff and I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? The bill said you want people to donate their money in this economy to the state? The bill sets clear investment guidelines requiring safe storage, cold wallets, custodians, capping holdings of digital assets at 10% of total funds under management. Additionally, the state is only permitted to hold a maximum of 1 million Bitcoin. I can't wait to see that happen. If passed, yada, yada, so and so and so. Where was the other part? I don't remember. Maybe it's some other. They were talking about the other assets that they're looking to actually accumulate. Maybe it's in one of the other articles. The point is they're thinking of getting crypto. Apparently there's multiple crypto as it is a digital asset reserve and not just Bitcoin. There are proposals for them to accumulate stable coins as well. I know stable coins might seem confusing if you haven't been seeing. Stable coins are now offering and have been for a while, but it's only going to be ramped up in the future to give like a guaranteed return on your money. That is to say, if you look at some crypto exchanges right now, they offer like a 5, 6, 7% return on your money of the amount of stable coins that you're actually holding. And this is incentivizing a lot of countries and states to also start holding stable coins as well to get like a guaranteed return, even if it's just simply mimicking the US dollar. There's also a proposal. Is it here? I don't know. There's also a proposal to also start accumulating NFTs as well for the state. A lot of people who don't keep up with it or don't whatever the thing might be, NFTs are still really big. And I think it's something, if you have to not be in the market, you have to also be into art. We were talking about that last year as well. A lot of, what's the word? National galleries and museums like in different countries are all still accumulating NFTs because of provenance. Basically being able to rightfully prove when an artist actually made something and you can't fake it. We will know forever when that thing was created. There's still the fractionalization of like Picasso's and all. It's a very big business. But I'm going to be honest, this was very popular news. And I assume it has to do with a cap of 1 million Bitcoin. The United States is never going to get to 1 million Bitcoin. So I don't really understand. And for someone, I heard you, for someone who just said that, no, he's wrong. No. So for those of you who missed any video that I've been making, there's not enough Bitcoin left on exchanges or on the planet for the United States to be able to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin without everyone else paying attention. We keep seeing the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges dropping dramatically like every month, and also the OTC Bitcoin. There's not enough. So we're going to see the ETFs hold over 2 million Bitcoin, and we're going to see MicroStrategy by the end of this year hold 1 million Bitcoin. The United States' buying proposal is over the course of 5 years. They're not going to make it to 1 million Bitcoin. It's literally never, it's mathematically impossible. With the accumulation that we have from the banks, the other countries, the other nations, the other hedge funds, it's just not going to be a thing. So even that's why I was like, South Carolina is never going to have 1 million Bitcoin. Unless, and I'll say it this way, unless they've lied to us all. And the last 10 years, they themselves have also been accumulating Bitcoin, but I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, this is the bill for those of you who cared in any sort of way what the bill looked like. If you've never been to South Carolina, it's very pretty. I used to spend all my summers there as a kid. We used to always go to Myrtle Beach like the entire summer from June until like the end of August, we'd be in Myrtle Beach. And it was, if you've never been to Myrtle Beach, it's inexpensive. It's beautiful. It's very, very nice. There's a lot to do, a lot of places to lounge and stuff like that. Yeah, go give it a lookie. I think that's going to do it for this video. Hope everyone's doing good. Hope everyone's having a great day. Yeah, a lot going on at the exact same time. You know, it's just a waiting game at this point, but the waiting is definitely waiting itself. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.